Thanks so much for listening to No Lions Here with me, Big Panda. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to No Lions Here. My name is Big Panda, and I'm a recovering sex addict. Welcome back to the show. As you can see, remote location, undisclosed location from where we're recording from. And before we jump into today's episode and I introduce our guest for the day, because yes, even though it is just me on the camera, we do have a guest with me today. I guess you could say in studio too. I do want to give a shout out to my sponsor for this episode, Beginning It Institute. If you or someone you know is struggling with sex, love, or porn addiction, definitely go check them out, beginningitinstitute.com. Their information will be in the description below. So definitely go check them out. I've had a bunch of their therapists on, and I'm really grateful for that relationship that I have with them. Into today's episode, with me, sitting across from me, I have my beautiful partner, Beanie.
Hi.
Beanie, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for finally having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on too. And it was funny, so we're setting all this up, we got the remote set up now, which I really like. I can take it all these different places, and right before we recorded, you were like really anxious. And so we kind of had to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very introverted. I'm an introverted person.
Mm-hmm.
Going and being very open with myself and my feelings, and being on camera is kind of the opposite of my personality. Emotionally, I'm good with it. I'm excited to be here, but the action of actually getting on the show, I'm a little anxious about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think this is the one episode where I'm not nervous.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm not nervous, right? We're in your house. This is a comfortable space for me. This is, though we had some technical difficulties setting things up, so that was a little irritating.
It's okay.
But yeah, I don't feel that nervous at all right now. So
good.
I got us. And then you shared, you were like, I'm afraid I'm going to fuck this up.
Yeah. I know this is really important to you. It's a big part of your mission, what you're passionate about, helping other people, and obviously very supportive of that. But now in action, being supportive of that, I want to do a good job.
Yeah. And you're going to do a good job. And if we don't like this, we won't record it.
Okay.
So
deal.
It'll be all right. Okay. So what questions do you have for me? I'm just kidding.
You run your show the way you want to run it. I'm here.
I got an alarm going off. It's almost time to pick up the kid. Hey.
I kind of just like to talk about us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we've been dating now for 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
6 months?
Yep.
Okay.
Feels like much longer though.
It does feel a lot longer.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot of depth to our relationship in the past 6 months.
Absolutely.
A lot of openness, honesty. We've talked about a lot of things. We've both talked about our traumas. We've both talked about our strengths, our goals. So I feel like there's a lot of depth there.
There is. You're definitely the first partner that I've ever been, this open and honest with about my struggles and what I deal with and the things that I do.
Yeah.
And it was pretty nerve-wracking. So let's take it back to July of 2024. Right now we're in January of 2025. Mm-hmm. So it was July and we matched on Hinge.
Yep.
And, so you live, an hour and 20 minutes away from me.
Right.
And I guess I was down in this area because I do have a program friend. Shout out to Andy. He's been on the podcast. Go check out my episode with Andy, Woman Shaped Hole. I don't know what number that is. Shameless plug. But he lives down here, and you guys actually know each other through work. So I was down here visiting him one day, and of course, I was on Hinge swiping and came across you. And yeah, I was like, oh, she's really pretty. And then we matched.
Yeah.
And then we matched, and then we started talking. And I think one of the first things that we started talking about was like spirituality.
Yeah. So I noticed whenever you had, I don't even remember how Hinge works. I don't remember if it's a like. I think it's a like. I noticed that you had liked my profile. And then I was looking at your profile, and it really stood out to me that you had said that someone you're looking for, someone who's spiritual, that's very important to you. And obviously, I was really wanting a partner who has a lot of emotional depth, spiritual depth. That really stood out to me a lot. So my first thought was, hey, what are your thoughts on spirituality? What are your beliefs around that? What are you looking for in a partner when it comes to spirituality? So yeah, that was our first conversation.
That was the start of the conversation. Yeah.
Starting off deep.
Starting off
right
deep,
away.
right? Yeah. Now, had you had any experience with any of the other dating apps? Tinder, Bumble, or was it always just Hinge?
Just Hinge. Yeah. It was my first time using dating apps. And so I had kind of asked around with some of my friends that were using dating apps, like what's the most legit app that I don't have to pay a ton of money for. And definitely wasn't looking for like a one night stand. I want a partner. I want a long term relationship. I want someone that I can grow with. And so, kind of what all of my friends have been saying is that Hinge is a really good place for that. So, that's the only app I've ever used. Moffat now.
Well, yeah. I hope you are. Let me see your phone. We have recently given each other our phone passwords.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, which is something that I've never done before because I was too afraid because I was hiding so much, you know. So yeah, so we matched, we started talking, and you know, at that point in time, part of my dating plan was like, all right, let's talk on the phone, right? I don't want to send messages, endless messages back and forth. Let's talk on the phone and let's see if we click. Because yeah, you know, you can message, and I would get some people on there where like we'd be messaging, and then all of a sudden I wouldn't hear from them for like a week and a half. And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I got busy," which like is like, okay, that's fine. But clearly, you know, let's get to this. You know, not hurry up and let's get there, but let's have a phone conversation. And I remember, you know, the first time we talked, we ended up talking for like 2.5 hours, something like that, right?
Yeah, our first conversation. We did talk for 2.5 hours. I remember sitting out there in that hammock talking to you on the phone, and we went through a lot. We went through a lot of conversations about, we talked more about spirituality and what it looks like to be healthy. I think we went into a lot of deeper conversations of what we do for work, things like that, our goals, beliefs.
And at that point in time, I was actually in between jobs. It was right before I started, right when I left Worldwide, and right before I started full time, at the treatment center. Yeah.
And then our next conversation was also like 2 hours.
Yep.
We talked a couple of times before we met up.
We did. I think we probably had close to, it was probably over 5 hours of conversation before we even met up for that first date.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's one of the things that like the program has taught me is like phone calls. And like I'm a little old school now when it comes to like talking. Like if you really want to get in depth, like even to this day, like I struggle with, like if a program guy texts me, I struggle with like getting back to them.
Yeah.
Like I'm not great at texting when it comes to program stuff. Like I'd rather we call and we have a 5-minute conversation, you know, 2-minute or 5-minute conversation, just because like that's where you really get into like the depth of things. Like you can really, like, the emotion is there. I feel like the connection is obviously way deeper than through text. You know,
you can hear people's tone of voice. It's more difficult with texting. Sometimes you think things mean different things. Yeah, conversations are great. And I really appreciated that a lot. I appreciated actually getting to know you before I saw you in person. Obviously, there's pictures on the app on Hinge, but getting to know you as an individual and hearing your voice, talking to you, I feel like it really was a good foundation for that first date.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then we went on our first date, which was a hike, because this is another part of my like dating plan is like, don't do meals for first dates.
I like that.
Like no movies. movies is just bad first dating, just
You
in
can't
general.
talk.
You can't
Yeah.
talk at all, right? You're just
Right.
sitting there. So it was either grab coffee or go for a walk, go for a hike.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like, and you were like, yeah, let's go for a hike. And we found a place in the middle. And then I even found a place where we went and got ice cream afterwards.
Yes.
So, yeah, I still remember like meeting you.
Yeah.
You pulled up and we got out and we hugged. Then we went on a walk.
And I thought, man, his hair's amazing.
And then we went on the hike, which I'll be honest, I don't. I think at that point in time, I had told you I was in recovery, right? But I hadn't told you
from what
everything.
Or yeah, I didn't know
right. I
details.
think I had told you the drug and alcohol sobriety, but I hadn't told you anything about the sex addiction yet to that point. And to me, it was too soon.
Yeah.
To be dropping those kinds of bombs on you. But it was funny though, because like while we were like sharing things with each other, like, because I remember at one point, I do remember this. I remember we were on the back end of the trail and you were like, so are there any other secrets that you need to tell me?
Tell me something. Tell me a secret.
Yeah,
that's probably what I said. Tell me a secret about you.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh God, where do I start? And then I was like, well, one of my bigger things, as I got all these issues, right? I got all these self-esteem issues, confidence issues, things that I rule myself out of, right? Like I'm not good enough because I do this, and this, right? And it was chewing tobacco. And I was like, yeah, I chew tobacco. And what was your response?
I said, yeah, I know. I deduced that from the photos that I had seen.
Then I realized, and then because you told me that, you were like, oh yeah, I remember when you sent me that video of you like pulling the pulled pork. Yeah. Oh yeah, there was a can sitting right there. And I didn't even realize that. And so then you pointed that out and I was like, oh my gosh. It was like a relief.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, good.
She already knows. She's okay with it.
And you had shared something too with me that you were really worried about too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? You have to remind me.
Due to the autoimmune.
Yes. I have an autoimmune disease. And so just having a partner that's accepting of that, that's understanding of that, that's okay, that sometimes I do have some dietary restrictions, that it does affect my health. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember asking you, like, so what happens about when you have a flare up?
We'll talk about that later down the road.
That's exactly what you said. Yes, exactly what you said.
It's not the time yet, not the first date.
Yeah. So
should have took a nap for the show.
Should have taken a nap. It's okay though. So then we went and got ice cream. I remember being like leaving that and being like, I really like this girl.
Yeah.
Like I really like this girl. I think I even asked you too, like, what's, does the distance bother you?
No. And,
luckily with our jobs, you work 3 days a week. I have 3 days off. Just keep you on it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the distance was not a problem. Yes. And I think one thing, talking about dating, since this is a podcast for addiction and for sex addiction, I recall specifically wishing that you would kiss me on the first date. And I think you could tell. I wanted you to kiss me. You did not kiss me.
I did not.
On the first date.
Nope.
Yep. I remember leaving and thinking, I really wanted to kiss him. And then as I got to know you, you had some pretty good boundaries around dating and waiting for that sexual intimacy, which I really appreciate and I understand now. But that actually, the integrity that you had with that actually made me more interested in you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I was doing things the right way, Yeah. I could have easily gone about things in a wrong way. And early on in recovery, I mean, I had tried dating for the wrong reasons, and things didn't go. I was trying to go about the wrong situations and win the right way. We'll just put it that way. And it just, it wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
And so finally kind of feeling like, all right, I'm in a spot. Okay. I had two different people tell me I had acted out in May of 2024, right? That was the last time that I had acted out. Hey guys, I just want to take a minute to share something deeply personal and transformative in my journey of recovery. I've been where you might be right now, struggling with the weight of addiction and feeling lost. But there's a place that offered me a new beginning, a place I truly believe in. It's called Begin Again Institute. At Begin Again, they understand the deep rooted trauma behind addiction. Their 14-day intensive program for men tackles the neurobiological aspects of addiction head on. It's not just about breaking a habit. It's about understanding and healing the underlying trauma that formed it in the first place. And for those who have been impacted by betrayal, Begin Again extends care to partners of addicts too. Their partner support program is offered at no additional cost to the family and runs alongside the men's intensive. This program helps participants gain an understanding of the trauma they've experienced and sets them on their own path to healing. If you or someone you love are grappling with sexual addiction, pornography addiction, or intimacy issues, Begin Again Institute can be that pivotal step towards recovery and a new lease on life. Remember, you can't go back and change the past, but it's never too late to begin again. To learn more about their life-changing program, visit beginagaininstitute.com or call 720-776-9076 to reserve your spot in the next 2-week intensive. I promise, it'll be the best call that you ever make for yourself. Stay strong, keep fighting, and keep tuning in to No Lions Here for more conversations about recovery, resilience, and hope. And after that, I had 2 people tell me, 2 different people that did not know each other tell me, Alex, I think you need to put yourself out there. I think it's time that you put yourself out there and find a partner. You need some connection. And, other than the people in my network. And so what's funny is because I was like, well, I think you guys are wrong. I just acted out. Like, this isn't, no. Like, and so it was like, okay, there's something. And then a third person I told that to, and they're like, oh, sounds like God may be talking to you here. So I was like, all right, let's do this. And, before you, I had gone on about 4 or 5 first dates, 1 second date. And, but I was learning a lot about the process, right? I honestly, like, I don't know that I was super set on, like, I think the expectation was I'm just going to get practice here, like, all right, cool. Like I'm going on dates, I'm going about things in a right way. Like this is really good practice. I'm really learning about this process. So I think that was really like my only expectation was like, I'm just learning about this process. And then here you come along and it's like, she checks a lot of the boxes. We have a lot of goals that are very much like go hand in hand.
2 sides of the same coin.
2 sides of the same coin. Like they think our goals go along. Like I don't think I could have like planned it out any better as far as how our goals are aligned with what we want to do with our lives, right? You want to help women with trauma. I want to help men with trauma.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at it all, you can see God was involved, I feel like, in each step of the way. In the way that our goals do align and in the things that we're passionate about, the ways that we can support one another and understand one another. We both have backgrounds with trauma, different kinds of trauma, but we both understand trauma. So we know how to interact with one another. And yeah, pleasant surprise.
Pleasantly surprised.
Definitely was hoping to find a partner, but at that point I had kind of, I guess, I could say I didn't have great expectations. I was on a dating app. I was kind of thinking, I'm probably not going to find someone on an app, find somebody in person. We'll just see what happens here. I don't really know what to expect, kind of. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think I was too. Because, there's something about like, I don't know, when you get into your 30s, later 30s, we're both closer to 40 than we are 30. And like, I don't know, there's just this like, I don't know, it was almost kind of daunting too. Like who's out there that's going to really be healthy?
Right.
Because that's key, I think, to a relationship is healthy. And it's like, all right, like I'm coming from my side and I know the work that I've done, but like, who else out there is actually like putting in the work on themselves and is aware of themselves and what they bring to the table?
Yeah. And I was definitely feeling very much the same way. One thing kind of in a way, circling back to what we were talking about with saving physical intimacy, was I was really looking for a partner that was emotionally healthy and that I could have that emotional connection with, coming from a woman's standpoint. And I guess I can't speak for all women, not to generalize anything, but I feel like in the past, a lot of the partners that I have dated as men, the way that men are raised in society today, they're not connected to their emotions, which makes it difficult for them to connect to a woman's emotions. And so something that I was definitely looking for was that emotional intimacy, being emotionally healthy, someone that was working on that. And so I remember you saying, whenever we started having that conversation about kissing and waiting, that was a conversation that came up. Like, I just want to get to know you. I want to build that emotional connection. And for me, that right there was a sign of, okay, this is the type of partner I've been looking for, someone who is emotionally intelligent and who really wants to get to know me as a person, and I want to get to know them. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a second date conversation. It's funny because, like, so we did a lot of talking on the phone. Even after that, we talked on the phone. So it was almost felt like when we got to that second date that we were already at like the fourth or fifth date almost. Yeah. Like, it's just the distance, kind of caused, yeah, we weren't able to get those dates in like real close to each other. But, we stayed connected on the phone. And then we had that second date, which was more like a fourth, fifth.
I feel like our phone conversations were dates.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, exactly. Yeah. Like, I felt like by time we had that second date, and then that's when we started talking about that, the physical side of things. And then we did kiss on the second date.
We did.
Kiss.
Which was actually more like the sixth date. Yeah.
Somewhere around there. That's how I justify it.
We'll call it that.
And, the whole time I'm talking to my sponsor and, shout out to Jeff and everybody else around me, bouncing these things off of me, even though I can't remember what my fears were at that point in time or what I was necessarily talking about specifically. I think more or less just emphasis on, okay, I want to get to know her for her. And, I really want to see where this one goes. Still, we hadn't deleted the apps yet. Still on there, still kind of, I did realize though that like my time spent on it was like getting less and less. I wasn't so compulsive with it. Like before, when I had tried to use the dating apps, I was really compulsive with it. Again, I just remember just thinking like, okay, I want to go about this in the right way. And hold on though. Actually, one of the fears was, okay, there's this other side that I need to tell her about. And my gosh, I'm so afraid to do that. So fast forward to, I think it was probably our third date. I think so. I think you came up to me.
You made us steaks.
Yes, I made dinner. We went on a local hike and we hung out. Kind of like we spent the day together.
Lots of yawns.
I remember thinking like, when do I tell her? Like, I need to tell her, right? So we're kissing at this point in time. And like, I knew that I couldn't go any more forward physically with you until, it was, these things were disclosed, and remember being like, okay, there's this date's coming up. When do I tell her? The part of me that wants to control the situation, I'm going to tell you right away, because if we're together for 6 hours and I wait till the end and I tell you at the end and you storm off, well, then my day's wasted. So let me tell you at the beginning. But oh my gosh, what's that going to look like? Or, like basically like, when do I tell her? And how do I tell her, without going into full detail? And I actually had a really good conversation with a friend in the program around it too, who was like, hey man, let her know, but you are allowed to put up boundaries around this too. Hey, I think one of the biggest things that he relayed to me and how to talk about this with you was that, like, hey, here's this part of me. This isn't an exclamation point. This isn't a period. This is a ... You have a voice. You are allowed to ask questions. However, there are parts of my story that are really sensitive to me still. So if you're touching on those, I'm going to politely be like, let's circle back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you said almost those exact words. We were talking.
I did. I was so nervous. So my question is, like, what was that like in your head when I can still remember this. We were sitting on the couch and I said, hey, I need to tell you something.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I am in recovery. I am a cocaine addict. However, my biggest struggle is sexual addiction. I'm a sex addict. And that's what I went to treatment for. That's the program I work, the 12 steps that I work,
Yeah.
So what's going through your head at that moment? If you can remember back, we've slept since then.
I think, honestly, as odd as it may sound, I think that the primary thought in my head was that I was really grateful that I was dating someone that was so honest. That was my predominant thought. My past experience in relationships, I have dated an addict before. I know what it's like to have a partner that is hiding things, that is lying about things, that isn't open, that isn't emotionally healthy. And so to hear from you vocalizing to me that, hey, I have this addiction. Here's what I'm doing to support myself. Here's the work that I'm doing around that. Here's how I'm planning to stay healthy. Here's my safety nets that I have around me. To me, it was almost like, on the one hand, yeah, there was surprise. I wasn't expecting you to say that. But on the other hand, it was like, okay, there's someone who is vocalizing this addiction to me, but they're emotionally aware of themselves. A lot of self-awareness around their addiction, a lot of education around their addiction, and they're doing a lot of things to improve themselves. So honestly, to me, I was very grateful that you had shared that. It made me feel a deeper connection to you. It made me feel closer to you, and it made me feel like I was dating someone who I could actually get to know their true person and not just the whitewashing that people put on themselves to present themselves to others.
Which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. Like, I remember on our second date, because I remember talking to my sponsor, Jeff, and you've met Jeff and you've met some of my
Hey,
close network friends. I remember, like, on the date we were talking about, I think I shared with you, like, I've got mom issues and this is kind of like this and that. And you were like, how has that manifested in your life? And it was almost like, because I remember exactly what I told you, is that I look for validation in women. I look for validation in women.
Yeah.
I'm looking for women to fill this hole inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially saying I was a sex addict without saying that I had an intimacy disorder, right then and there. And so it was funny because and we had so many talks around, what we're working through, what happened to us, to where I'm sure, again, like, it wasn't like, oh, hey, I haven't shared anything with you. Now all of a sudden, here's everything. What do you want to do with it?
Right. Yeah, there's definitely like a build up and things that you had shared with me about yourself beforehand. So, like, I guess whenever you kind of sat me down, I felt like I knew that there was going to be more. Obviously, I didn't know what, but kind of a little bit of anticipation of, okay, he's going to share more with me about himself and the things that he's working through. And yeah, I was actually, whenever we had that conversation and you were talking to me about having that mother enmeshment, it was kind of the same feeling again of, well, he's very self-aware. Because, and not in any way to minimize the things that you're going through or anyone that's listening and the things that they're going through. But I feel like, particularly at this age, we're nearing middle age, most people have trauma. Most people have been through a lot. We do have things that we struggle with. There's areas that we're not healthy in. What's important to me is that my partner is working on those things and that I'm working on those things. And so to hear you say, and to be self-aware enough to say, here's what my struggles are, and here's what I'm working on, like, that meant so much to me, as opposed to me getting to know someone. And, once you get really close to someone or close to your partner, your family, your children, your parents, like, you can kind of see the other people's struggles. Like, you can look at your friends and you may be aware of struggles that they have that they're not aware of. But to be dating someone who's aware, yeah, that's a big deal. And I think it shows a lot of maturity. So I really appreciated all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, if only I would have known all of this before I had that conversation. I still probably would have been scared. I was definitely freaking out. And then I think we deleted our apps together.
Yes. Yeah.
On that date. Like,
we
okay,
did delete our
we're
apps.
like exclusive.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking to anybody else.
But then I still wasn't sure what that meant, because it wasn't until later that we kind of said we were in a committed relationship. Those were two different defined moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Two different. Yes.
I remember coming back and talking to one of my girlfriends, and I was like, okay, we both deleted our apps. does that mean we're together? What does this mean? Or does this mean that we're only focused on dating and getting to know each other? We were kind of like, I don't know. And I remember because I can have more of a tendency to be anxious, I guess, than I would avoidant. I remember thinking, typically this would make me really anxious because we didn't state a definition of what this means. It could mean a lot of things. But I remember just feeling kind of calm about it and like, whatever it means, it means. It was a great, I'm glad that he did that we did that together, that he showed me that he is that interested in me and getting to know me. But I remember just having a lot of peace about it and thinking, like, I feel like God's really in control of this and it's just going to continue to move in a positive direction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it's kind of a little bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It's
like, all right, we deleted the app. What does that mean?
But we didn't talk any more about it. What's going on?
Is he my boyfriend? Is he not? What's happening?
And I'm over here like, baby steps here. Baby steps. We'll take it slow. This is just one of the steps.
Yeah.
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 It's about time we leave.
Okay.
Should we wrap this one up here?
We'll wrap it up. We'll do a
up.
part 2.
We'll do a part 2. This is just the introduction. So this is a part 2. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I'm way less anxious now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're killing it. Stay tuned for episode 2 of this with Beanie. That's what we're going to call her. That's my nickname for her. So be on the lookout. And thank you so much for joining me on my journey. I really appreciate it. If you are listening on YouTube, go check out the full discography on Spotify. No Lions Here. If you're listening on Spotify, go give us a follow over on YouTube at nolionshere.com. And it's also No Lions Here across all social media platforms. So if you want to get in touch with me, if you want to connect, if you're if you're interested in telling your story, or if there's any topics that you'd like to hear me discuss, please feel free to reach out. As always, nolionshere@gmail.com. Again, that is nolionshere@gmail.com. As always, keep coming back. It works if you work it, and you're worth it. We'll see you guys next time.